everybody, Giselle Grenier here from ArtPlace.ca. Do I sound a little bit chipper? I shouldn't be. I did a video, Book of Backgrounds video featuring this design, and wouldn't you know it, no microphone. So all that was recorded was the overhead camcorder mic, and it was awful quality. I wasn't gonna give you guys that. So I'm gonna be redoing this. Well, we all know that when we create art, especially when we're doing it from random pieces, it's never really going to be the same. And with this one here, I'm going to introduce some paper cuttings. I'm going to be doing some scraping. So I'm going to change a few things about this, but I'll end up using this still in the actual phase 2 project of the Bob and Doug project. I'm still thinking about changing the Doug portion to Book of Art, but I am going to be using this to create the art on, but I'm going to be redoing it for video purposes. I'm not going to do it on the same background. I'm going to do it on a file folder. So I did a little bit of prep work first. And so we've got just a regular file folder. And I've got my Jacobean stencil. I've got my accessory stencil. I've got my Vogue stencil. And this one I'm introducing, it's the Dangles from Americana. So I'm going to be using that. That one's not in the other design. Do as I say, not as I do. Make sure you clean your stencils after using them. But this has like so many layers of paint, and it won't come clean now. I've tried and tried and tried and tried and tried. And I've got my scraper. I'm also going to be putting some of this on. So let's see what happens. I've got some, right over my wax paper, my little tray here. So all I'm going to do is just put a piece of wax paper in there. I'm pretending though, for this is just for demonstration purposes, but typically when you're creating something that's already, for this case, a signature or a folio, you want to protect what's there. So this will just help prevent the paint from going on here. But I'm a slob anyways when it comes to painting, so it doesn't matter. I'm going to be using DecoArt Media Gesso, the white gesso, with my favorite number 8 Bristol Bright. And all I'm going to do is just apply the gesso in a very, very rough fashion. Now this is tedious, but I want to show you how I do it. Then we'll just go over to the dried piece. And what I'm doing is I'm just allowing the paint to grab, and then there's some parts that are lifted up and just it looks distressed. I'll bring that out and just see how far I can go. You can cover it completely if you want. You may want to, you may not want to. What I did with the other one though is when I opened it completely flat, I applied a lot of gesso to the spine, because this is what I'm going to be sewing into the actual Book of Backgrounds. So I put a lot of gesso on there, and then I worked it out so it wasn't so obvious. So just making my marks, and you can go for complete coverage if you want or not, but I like putting gesso on the spine for sure. And the reason why I'm doing this, when you paint it, the paint is going to go immediately into the unpainted area, the unprimed area, and it's going to have a different finish than the finish over the gessoed spots. It just adds more visual texture. And as I'm doing this, the paint is drying, so I'm just smoothing out the actual ridges of paint. I want to keep the brush strokes, which is this, but I'm getting rid of the actual ridges of paint. There we go. That's done. Now we'll put this aside to dry, and I already have this one done. Let me just clean that up. When doing the Book of Backgrounds, and I'm saying this for the Book of Backgrounds, this can apply to anything you want to do. Art journaling, can't, whatever. It doesn't matter. You don't have to do this on a file folder. I just thought it was kind of cool to do it on a file folder. I'm going to scrape on some paint, and I'm scraping on the paint for something different. I'm going to be using the Deco Art Media Fluid Acrylics, and what I have, let me just call out the supplies, because sometimes I talk too fast and you guys don't hear what I say. The supply list for this is going to be linked on my blog anyways. So the Deco Art Media Gesso, matte medium. Then the fluid acrylics, green gold, cobalt teal hue, cobalt turquoise hue, cerulean blue, and then Deco Art Traditions titanium white because it's thicker. And the brushes, you saw the number 8 Bristle Bright, which I also popped a picture in the free private Facebook group because people were asking me questions about the brush. Royal Aquilon brushes with the acrylic handles so they don't split, and they've got this really cool flat part so you can use that for burnishing. The 1 inch wash, 3/4 inch wash, the number 12 shader. I've got some stencil brushes, which is the long flat, and I've got the little small domed one. I also have a trowel and a painting knife. And the only difference between that is, you can see, this is nice when you need pressure, and this is nice when you need flat. Again, do as I say, not what I do. They should be cleaned after every use. Palette paper, brush bucket, all that typical stuff is available. I'm going to be using green gold. And Joe promised that he was going to help me hook up a shelf in front of my table and hook up the microphone to that, because when I make noise on the table, the microphone is actually fastened to the table. It gets loud, so I apologize for that. I'm going to start out with that amount of paint and my scraper. Now you can use a credit card if you want. I found the credit card for this particular step a little hard, so I'm using a texture tool. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to grab a little bit, and it's very, very flexible. And I'm going to start here. And I assembly line gesso priming. I do it all at the same time. It helps. It helps when everything's already ready. Oh. And you can see how it's being applied. It's being applied a little bit differently. When it goes over. When it goes over the unprimed areas. Now watch. Baby wipe. The areas that I'm wiping off are gesso. And there's no gesso here. See? Now I'm not going to do this for the whole piece. I just wanted to show you the effect that you can get. And I can't even, I can keep rubbing. You got to be careful when you're rubbing on unprimed paper. You'll actually pull the fibers up. So I'm just going to keep going. And if you're going to be doing this as a double page spread, so you want to work on, if this is going to be in a center spread, you want to have everything cohesive, do the entire spread at the same time. If you're just doing this on canvas, then disregard my comments. A lot of this is going to be covered, so these lines don't bother me in the least. What's in there? And I'm just going to grab a little bit more. You don't have to cover everything either. I love overlapping colors. And you notice I'm working horizontally and vertically because you get different shapes. I love the distressed look. And I got I think it was an email. I don't think it was a YouTube comment. It was an email That lady was asking me, you know, why I always work with vintage, grungy colors, not anything pastel. Pastels is not really my thing, but I am going outside the box and doing a lot more stuff with pastels. Whether or not it works, I don't know. You guys can let me know. All right. Okie dokie smoky. This should dry. It's actually pretty dry now. Let me just do a quick wipe. I don't really want to use the heat gun today. We're in another heat wave. God, I can count on my both hands the number of days we haven't been in a heat wave. Let's see. You know what? Let me stencil some of this paper stuff. And this is just to add texture. And these are the little pieces that are left over after I finish writing up the supply list for the videos. So I'm just going to do a dry fit first. Mia should start barking because there's somebody outside. The girl is going to go here, so I don't want this to be too textured. We'll see how that works. I'm going to get my matte medium. Oh my goodness. And I'm going to use my, this is the other thing I not forgot to mention, but when you're using a medium, whether it's the decoupage, paper, napkin, fabric medium, or matte medium, any type of medium like a glue, try to have a dedicated brush for that, because they're a little bit harder to clean than ones with paint. And this one here actually is a little bit gummy on the bottom, so I'm going to put the medium on there and just go on top. And just going to flatten it down. Absolutely nothing fancy. I don't care if the pages are folded over. This is totally optional. You don't have to do this if you don't want to. And this notebook paper here, very, very cheap. And it's see-through, which is absolutely perfect for this. I love transparent layers when I'm creating art. If you don't, then do whatever makes you happy. Use whatever supplies that make you happy. If you like using children's paint, use children's paint. No problem with that. The whole thing with the book of backgrounds, even with just art, is you do the art for you, nobody else. And a lot of the art that I do and people don't like, and you know what, I'm okay with that. Because I'm creating the art for me. And teaching some techniques. And, oh, bugger, come on. Oh well, you're going to be crooked. Teaching some techniques of what's worked for me. Sharing different things, so it's one of the highlights of my day when I get an email. I got one this morning. I won't say her name because I really should get her permission to use her name, but it's just about perfectionism with art, and that the art's for you, not for anybody else. Now, if you're doing commercial art, that's a different story. My art teacher told me I'd never make it as a pet portrait artist. Well, I'm not going to, tooting my own horn, you should check out some of my pet portraits. I've got commissions that prove the that teacher otherwise. There we go. And now that I've talked for 10 minutes, I use up all the bits and pieces. All right, so I'm going to put this in water and I'm going to let this dry. It won't take very long to dry. And when we come back, what I'm going to do is I'm thinking I'm going to put another little bit of paint going on top of this, and that'll take like just seconds to dry, and then we'll actually start to stencil the background. And I'm going to be using, I'm going to reach over because I forgot to show you this, texture glass, which is so cool. It's so cool. Think of it like modeling paste, but completely transparent and high shine. It looks like glass. It is absolutely beautiful. And I did an image transfer with this with a map, and it was really cool. I was really happy with this, so we'll be using that as well. Okay, back in about maybe 10-15 minutes when this is dry, and then we'll go on to the next step. I put out some Deco Art Traditions, the Artist Acrylic Titanium White, which is nice and thick, and then the Fluid Acrylics, the same green gold. And I'm going to take this little small number 12 shader, and I'm just going to create a loading zone, and I'm going to lay the brush almost flat, and all I'm going to do is drag that over the paper strips, and where there's raised paper, it's going to grab it. The file folder is buckling a little bit. It's a cheap file folder. Now where this one is, I shouldn't have gone over that because I want to put white actually on that. It's where it's, that's perfect. It is a cheap file folder. We don't use a lot of paper-based stuff anymore, but you gotta keep the stuff for the government. All right. And the reason why I'm using two brushes for this is because I cannot have any of this in the white. I want it to be pure white. So I'm going to pick up this in the 3/4 inch wash. It's a wash glaze brush. Only going to load a little bit. Okay, right to the bristles, and I'm going to do the same thing. Now I'm just going to go over some spots, brush flat. This takes a little bit of practice to do to get that grunge look. And if you put too much on, wipe it up with a baby wipe. It's not the end of the world. And what is it? Whoops, see, like that. And you just take a paper towel and just kind of smudge that out a little bit. That's fine. When we stencil, do our stenciling in layers of color, what's going to show up is going to be a little bit different, the areas that are white. You can do this as much as you want, as little as you want, doesn't matter. Just breaking up the large areas of green. You can make all your shapes, your stripes one way. You can make it horizontal, vertical. It's totally up to you. I'm going to be using the titanium white as well for the stenciling. Put a little bit more on this one. There we go. And we'll rinse that. That won't take long to dry, so I'm going to get the stencil. Okay, I'm going to stencil this one first. I'm thinking I'm thinking now I want to change my mind. No. Let's do with that. I'm going to use the long flat stencil brush. I'm going to load titanium white on that, nice and thick so it doesn't go underneath the stencil as much. I want this to be a little bit transparent, so I'm being very careful exactly how much I put on. And then I'll use a small stencil to get into the tiny little spots. This stencil is beat to rat poop. I've really abused it. I do have another one like this, which is clean, but I like the rough, unperfect edges that it gives me. Okay, very, very light. You can barely see it. Again, this is just a background. I have gotten some email from people where, you know, what do I do if my background doesn't turn out? Keep it and do it again on something else. These are just backgrounds. If you could paint acrylic on it, you can cover it up. Check out some of my upcycling videos on, you know, what to do with art that you don't like. You can upcycle it to something else, but this is just a background. So you don't need to worry. Because there are some of the backgrounds, I can guarantee, there are some of the backgrounds that I will do that I will not like. And, you know, it could be a perfect little soldier and you say, oh, this is beautiful, blah, blah, blah. And no, there's some that I don't like. Didn't turn out the way I was hoping, because all this stuff for Book of Backgrounds, it's all experiments. And so yeah, when it comes to the second phase, where the art's created, if there's a background that, you know, when it comes to doing the art on it, if I don't like it, I'll change it. There's no art police invited to this party. You can do whatever you want. Come on. Oh. There we go. Do as I say, not as I do. Clean your stencil. And I'm going to put that brush in there. Yep. Now we're going to get... I'm going to get cobalt teal hue, and for this I need to mask out some areas. Now what's really cool, these are the DecoArt Andy Skinner stencils, and this particular one, this is called Vogue. They give you the stencil and the mask, which I think you should be doing anyways, because, you know, it's just a shoot, it's just a cutout. I suppose drop that on the floor. That was the talking bubble. Oh, it's just a cutout. So, and what I need, which girl am I using? I'm using this one here. I want her there. And where's the puppy dog? Oh, it's in the other one. It's in the other one. Joe laughs at me. We moved my studio into a big room and I still don't have enough space. Tell me who out there has enough space in their studio. I'm sorry. And the puppy dog, now this is just the stencil. So I need the puppy dog to go here. And we've got the chat bubble to go here. The chat bubble we're going to be covering over. So the puppy dog's just going to be stenciled. So I don't have to worry about him right now, but I need to create the mask for these two. And the mask is basically going to prevent color from going down on there. So I'm thinking that. Now you can use low tack tape, low tack spray, but you need good ventilation for that. And always read the instructions on the can. I'm indoors and with the windows closed because the kids are outside playing, so I'm not going to be tacking this down. So I'm going to leave it just like that. I'm going to move the white out of the way. I do not want to get any white whatsoever. Oh, I just threw that paper towel into my drinking water. Smart. scraper tool. Oh my god, this is driving me crazy. Now I'm going to use the short side, and I'm going to work that down now. Oh, and have a baby wipe handy, because you can pick up some of the edges so you don't get a perfect edge. Let's see how that's going to work. Nope. You know what? I'm not going to worry about the mask for that, because you can always stencil the color. You can always stencil the color in there. I just wanted it to be transparent. But yes, fastening this down is the way to go. There, that's all I needed for that. And yeah, that's all right. Okay, that's going to go in water. The chat bubble is going to go in water. It's just to keep the majority of the shape. Now, I don't like that. So, textured paper towel. I'm going to press on that. And lift it up. Oh, perfect. Good old Viva paper towel. There we go. Now with the baby wipe, I can go where I stenciled the gesso or the white, and I can go over and brush a little bit of that out. That's still a little bit wet. I'm going to wait a bit more. That's still a little bit wet. And I'm going to go to Cobalt Turquoise Hue. These are all more transparent colors. I can put it right over that spot there. And I'm going to work the edges, and ideally putting this down where I don't have any of the other color. I love it on the edges. And what I'm likely going to do with this piece is I'm actually going to fold it over, and it'll be being a pocket. So I'll seal those edges, and I can put papers inside. You can do whatever you want with yours, though. I know it's looking kind of scary right now. This is the ugly stage. And to distress some of the areas, take your, this is too wet, just squeezing out the baby wipe. With it being just damp, I'm going to come in and I'm just going to wipe back some spots where I can expose the stamped image or the stenciled image, and turn your baby wipe over so you're not just smearing the paint. Whoop, that's too much. I took too much off there. That was still wet. You can also just press and lift. I want to soften that edge. Okay, and I'm going to clean this, and you can let it dry in between if you want. It doesn't really matter. We're going to be going over this with white again, and it's just the layers and layers and layers of color. I'm going to take cerulean blue. Now, cerulean blue I'm going to do with a brush. And then I'm going to get another clean number 8 Bristle Bright. No, I can't reach it. I've got large area brushes which work out quite nice. And this is just to add some darkness. And I want the texture of that scrapey look. Those lines. And it's just grabbing a little bit of that. Let's go on some of the unprimed paper here. We're going to push this back with more gesso, which will make it really soft. Now the other one that I did was much more green, but I wanted to work with the paler colors. And that'll be very apparent when I, whoops, crooked, when I go with the gesso. And when we stencil the texture glass, that's going to be beautiful. Which we're actually going to do now. You want to wait for your piece to be totally dry though. I'll use up all the paint. No throwing paint away in this house. That looks like a sad, 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 sad page. Okay, this has to be dry before putting the texture glass on, so I am going to have to get my heat gun and I'm going to dry this. My only challenge is I wanted the stencil to run off the page. It's not long enough. So I'm likely going to be putting stuff on the bottom because the girl's here and I don't want her basically to be floating. Planning in the future when it comes to the art portion that I could probably put either put some washi tape or collage fabric or something on the bottom. So I'm going to bring this to the top. Make sure that just goes off the edge a little bit. And it's going to take a little bit of planning on this one because I want to get the placement correct because I'm going to tape this down. And what I'm looking at is here. I want to make sure there's nothing too tiny. I want this side to be slightly off. Okay. I have no idea what I'm going to be doing with this part here, so let's protect that. Why, I have no idea, because there's paint all over it. I want the edge to be clean. I want to make sure you can see. Make sure you use low tack tape so you don't rip your paper. And what I'm making sure that there aren't tiny little bits on this side, because that's where the actual book will be handled. So there's one little piece, and unfortunately there's nothing I can do about that. Make sure everything is running off the paper. The reason why I'm taping this down, because the texture glass is a thick medium, I want to make sure that I have good coverage and the actual page is not flat, so that's going to be a challenge. But this is an experiment. All these book of backgrounds are experiments. Let's just have fun. See what happens. What's the worst that can happen? It's an acrylic. You can paint over it. No worries. Taping everything. And for this video, I'm not going to fast forward through anything. I know that there's a lot of videos out there that people fast forward through the steps, and that's fine. My videos are primarily towards the beginners, so I like to include a lot of detail. If you already know what you're doing, then you can fast forward. So I do have a little bit of bumples there. I'm going to be using my trowel, so the one that's flat, so I can get full flat coverage and good control. So texture glass comes in a container like this. Looks like thin modeling paste. Okay, and it goes on white, dries clear. So I'm going to put some on there, and I'm just going to grab a little bit. And you can put it on as thick or as thin as you want. I'm putting it on pretty thin because this is a book of backgrounds that if you put it on really, really thick, then you may have trouble closing your book. I'm binding mine as an expanding book, so I don't have to worry about that. But if you're using this into a manufactured journal that's sealed, like hardbound, then you may want to make this a little bit thinner. And also, the thicker the layer, the longer it takes to dry. And I do know that a little bit of it is going underneath the stencil. That's fine. But I am going much slower with this. And do I have it ready? Darn, I'm going to get another journal. When I scrape off the stencil, I'll put the excess on that. Nice and slow. We're not in a race. There's something therapeutic about applying a product that's just so yummy and creamy. And you can feel it. It's it feels luxurious, for lack of a better word. And when this dries, it'll dry clear. And when I come in with the white to knock everything back, everything that's underneath these stencil pieces is going to show. Oh my goodness. Multitasking is no longer my forte. So I don't know what's going to happen there. I'm not going to worry about it. I'm just going to continue on. This will take it's going to take a couple of hours to dry. And then once this is done, though, when I clean the stencil, I'm going to actually show you what I did. I created an acrylic skin using this product. And it was really cool. It's all about experimenting what you can do. Here we go. In some areas you can leave thick that's inside. Some thin. We'll see what happens. Okay, this is where we're going to do some fancy footwork here. Carefully remove the tape. I'm going to remove the tape this way. I want to grab my piece out first, put it aside, because I don't want to slide the stencil. I want to lift the stencil. Okay, yep, I have a place to put it. Lift it up. That. So that's going to dry. That's going to dry transparent. So I'm going to put that aside. I'm going to get the other file folder that I gessoed. See, look at that. Isn't that kind of cool? I'm going to put that down there. I bent my stencil. Now let's just very carefully just scrape the excess. It'll fill in the holes. Not completely though. Don't want to waste any product. I find that the texturing products, you end up going through more of it because it is a texture product. Had to stop. Chaos jumped on the table. Boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. She jumped on the table, that little bugger. So then I got some extra there. I'll put that aside. And now I'm just going to basically carefully clean the stencil. It's a little bit sticky now because I was trying to get chaos off the table. So I'm just going to clean this, and then when the other pieces dry, we'll come back. While that's drying, I wanted to quickly just come in to show you. I mean, this is kind of dirty because something was on here, but it dries transparent. Now, and this is for another series. Well, not really series. It's called the Texture Experiment. So that's what it dries like. And this is the skin that I created of a map. And you can see it's transparent. And that was done with the texture glass. And where the parts that are opaque, it hasn't quite dried yet. So this here, I'm looking about 2 to 3 days of drying time. But look how beautiful that is. I've already rubbed off the paper. And it can be used for background or for an embellishment. So that's it. So we'll come back when the other piece is completely dry, and then we'll move on. And we're back. So everything is dried, and what I did is, remember the piece that I was doing, kind of like the excess off the stuff? I did something ahead of time, which now completely changed how I'm going to do this. So whereas what I wanted to do was basically replicate this one. You can see the sun, it's really early in the morning. I wanted to replicate this one. Their designs are very similar up to the point of adding the glass. So look at this. Isn't that beautiful? That sunlight coming in. You can see the shine of that texture. Look at that texture. It was beautiful. Now, hitting the sun. So the sun is perfect for showing the individual pieces instead of just harsh studio lights. Look at that. Isn't that beautiful? So this one here, remember I did this on the plain manila folder. There was no gesso on here. So with the texture glass on here, then putting color wherever the texture glass was, there's no color. Now this was just the excess off the stencil, so it wasn't full coverage. You can see there was full coverage here, but not here. This one here was complete coverage. This was the stencil with the first coat on there. So what I thought in this experiment, I was going to do the stenciling. So as to if you wanted to do the stenciling with the picture, I'm going to have visuals of this all up on the website. You would just, before doing the texture glass, just do the stenciling and then that's it. So I've got some Decor Art Media gesso, white gesso. I've got some Traditions Artist Acrylics. This is professional paint. This is titanium white. Then I have a little bit of the fluid acrylics, cobalt teal hue. So I want to see what the difference is, how for this particular thing, it's going to be with the gesso, the acrylics, and then using a bit of a tint. I'm going to start with my number 8 Bristle Bright with the gesso, dry brush, not wet. And I've got my baby wipe handy. And let's start here. And I always start light and then add after the fact. Okay, let's wipe that back, see what happens. So what's happening is the gesso is going onto the background, but not onto where the texture glass is. So texture glass is acting as a really good resist. Let me put a heavier layer on here. Now I didn't go back on here because it was wet. It's noisy outside. Everybody's going to work. It's really early right now. It's a beautiful day today. And let's see how. And I'm just going to do this lightly, rotate. You don't have to do it all. That really pushes that back. I'm going to wait for a little bit more for it to dry. Then I come back and I can wipe it again. Then just the parts where the texture glass is, the paint will come off because there's nothing to grab onto. It will eventually dry, but it'll take a long time. It has to cure. So the actual gesso sticks to the part of the background. So let's put that brush away. Let's grab a flat brush. And let's try with some acrylics. Let's go here. So now I'm laying the paint on, not scrubbing it into the background. So the experiment, there's quite a few experiments in this particular one with the texture glass, with using acrylics, using a bristle brush, versus using a synthetic brush. And I just finished recording a video, not a video series, but there was a bunch of experiments called the texture experiment. And I should have featured this exercise in that. And I'm still going with the the vertical strokes because that's the base of the whole design. Now you may not want to use your best brushes for anything with texture, so they don't get worn out. You know, we tried with a baby wipe. Let's try with a soft cloth. Okay, the soft cloth is much better. You're not adding any extra moisture to the piece. Still going with the vertical strokes. Perfect. Perfect, perfect, perfect. Absolutely perfect. Now let's get some of that, let's get the sun. So what you can see is that the gesso is on the paper. Let's get some sunshine there, see? But it's clear wherever the texture glass was. Perfect. Can we replicate that with the gesso? So I'm going to take my brush, I'm going to go back in up here. And it's possible with the gesso is that I didn't let it dry enough, or maybe the bristle brush was just pushing it in, it just wasn't enough. So I'm going to apply the same amount of paint. I'm sorry for the sunlight. Actually, I'm not. I love sunlight. Yes, I probably should have waited until the sun was gone to video, but when I'm creating artwork, I don't know about you, when I'm creating artwork, when the sunshine comes in the window, it just I don't know, inspires ideas. Okay, so again, same dry cloth. I'm gonna roll it to a different side. No, it's not having quite the same effect. So it seems that the traditions, the titanium white seems to have a different adhesion and different look. The other thing that could be what didn't read is that the texture glass here is very, very thin. Here is very, very thick. So I have more applied here. That may have something to do with it. I'm just loving how that really got pushed back. The other experiment that I want to try now is taking some, let me just rinse that brush out. Let's get a really wash. Let's get some white with some cobalt hue. And let's go up here. And I already know that the titanium white has a really nice effect, so let's just, and I like using the round brush for this because I can get the raggedy edges. Our water. Let's bring that right up to here. Let's see what happens. The whole purpose of this book of backgrounds is experimenting. You experiment, and then whatever you like, you can use that for a formal piece of art. And and if you're liking what you've done and you've done the art on the other side of the paper, then you may want to just do the book of backgrounds on one side. That way you can actually use your piece as your formal art. Oh yeah, the acrylics, it just goes on so differently. Now, gesso does take a little bit longer to dry. That may have something to do with it too. We already know that acrylics dry very, very quickly. I am freaking out over this. I love this. Now, this won't be for everybody. And, not to be mean, but this art works for me. I'm sharing the techniques and the experiments, but wow. Okay, let's see if we can catch some sunlight. You can see, look at that shine. Isn't that beautiful? And where I can see some parts where it's still, the paint's gone on the texture glass, I can wipe out the texture glass area and the actual paint comes right off. So you can make it stronger. Okay. I kind of liked it with the acrylic paint on though. But then it's all about the experiment, so now I know. This is so cool. So if I had, when doing this one, if I had not forgotten to turn on my microphone, actually I think the battery went dead, then I wouldn't have had this experience. This one here is very similar to the one that's already on my YouTube channel. It's just a matter of ideas of how to use the stencil and stuff like that. So that's really easy to replicate. So that's with color put on, the texture glass on top of that, and then using a white product, whether it's gesso or acrylics applied and wiped back. And then this one here is the texture glass put onto a plain manila folder, and then it's chalky paints the chalky acrylics. There, now you can see the texture there. So 2 different effects. And love that the happy accident took place. Okay, you can't really see that, can you? Okay, now I am apologizing for the sun. Sorry. All right, so I hope you got some ideas from this. And with this one here now, I can use this as actually a signature or folio for my book of backgrounds. What I'm probably going to do with this is paint this, maybe a contrasting color to this, and then seal the edges and use it as a pocket to hold stuff. And I'm going to include this one into the book of backgrounds as well. That way it'll hold stuff. As for what to do with the back, that would be a good idea. So I have that. So I have a pocket there, pocket there, pocket there, and a pocket here. And then so if I glue them back to back, so when they're sewn, you're going to get to that. So there'll be pocket here, pocket here, pocket here, pocket here. Just hold a whole bunch of stuff. So yeah, it's probably when I'm going to glue these back to back. So this is done. All right. I hope you enjoyed that. And what I would love to know is, do you like putting texture in your stuff? Do you have any materials at home that you can use for texture? Let me know in the comments below. And if you like these types of experiments that I do, hit the like button so I know that you like the experiments. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel, don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss out on any of the new videos that I'm posting, because I am posting them on a regular basis. And don't forget to join in with our free private Facebook group to see, other art that people have posted and different things that we're doing, bouncing ideas off each other. There's a lot of stuff covered in there that isn't covered in the videos because of time restraints. So the link to all that, you can scroll down to the description box for this video. All the links on there to connect with me. And I'm going to clean up now and move on to the next video. So until I see you next time, stay inspired.